And as I talk about the West Coast, you can see the amount of development that is happening along the West Coast. Development, well, I'm using the word development cautiously, because this type of development, these high rises, will only contribute to the confusion that we have on the Highway 1. These buildings, a lot of these buildings are being built too close to the road. They are not providing vehicular recess to these buildings so that the service vehicles, the garbage truck, vehicles offloading and picking up passengers are blocking the highway. A situation that is already in crisis. So we need to be able to look at that. My friends, when we talk about the development of the West Coast, one of the things that come to mind, and one of my major concerns, is the creation of jobs for people along the West Coast. When I come up on mornings, and I generally have to leave home by 7 o'clock if I want to get to town for 8 o'clock, because the traffic is something else. But I meet several residents waiting at the bus stops, and I pick them up, bring them up, and in my discussions with them in my car, I recognize that a number of them are working on the South Coast. They are having to leave the West Coast, which a few years ago was prime tourist country in Barbados. They are having to leave the West Coast and go to the South Coast for employment. And we have more construction along this West Coast than any place else. I met one of the developers recently and had a chat with him in terms of what plans he had for the development. And I said to him, well, you know, I am the representative for this area. What plans do you have for employment of residents in the St. James area after we've constructed the buildings? And he said to me, that is a good question. I have not given it any thought. You imagine that? That we are developing along the West Coast, giving foreigners the right to develop along the West Coast, and the plan that is being submitted and approved in the town planning department has no reference to employment. But that is the whole reason why we want that investment, to create employment for people. Sustainable employment. That is what we want. We don't need the other thing. And what it is doing is blocking out the windows to the sea. Soon, because development is happening on both sides of the road, soon we'll be driving through a concrete tunnel if we do not have proper planning within that department. And you know who is at the head of the Department of Planning? The Prime Minister. He has no direction. He is prepared to sell out everything in Barbados for a few pieces of silver. I want to say a couple other things tonight. And I want to say to you that I am also concerned, and very concerned, over the education opportunities to Barbadians in this country. When I canvass this area, particularly the low-income areas of St. James Central, Fitz Village, Paynes Bay, Redmond Village, Heights, Archall, mothers are complaining to me about the cost of sending their children to elementary school. Last week in Redmond Village, a lady said to me it is costing her $500 to get her child, I think she's going to secondary school, school uniform, the books and so on that they have to buy. How can you send children to primary school and they have a book list uniforms that could be over $150. It is a shame, and it is happening throughout Barbados. Education in Barbados since 1960s was supposed to be free. The opportunity for you to have the social development, for you to have economic movement and upward mobility economically is dependent on that education. How can you have that education now restricted to only a few people? People that have. We are going right away back. That is not the policy of the Democratic Labour Party. Our policy is to put people first. And that has to stop. Several of the kids that I meet are having challenges even at secondary school with simple things like lunch. A lot of families are challenged to send their children to school. And as I said before, I can empathize with that situation. And I have to pull my pocket. I don't have the resources of the government and the other social services. I don't have those resources. But I have to do it. Because it hurts me to have a situation where kids cannot get to school because of something simple like lunch money and bus fare. In this Barbados in 2007. Should not happen. We are creating a situation where there will be two Barbadoses if this situation is not addressed. And I am going to call on the leaders of my party to look at the possibility of making that school meal service available to secondary schools in this country. Secondary schools. The cost of living that this government is saying they can't address is the cause of a lot of this situation. This is why our young people are having problems throughout the society. Because a lot of the young guys say to me, George, or Mr. Hutson, whatever they feel to call me, because you know I don't stand on ceremony. I'm an easygoing fella. But they will say to me, you know, I don't want to go and work for this sort of money that at the end of the day I can't do anything with it. I might as well stay home. It's a waste of time. So we need to be looking to provide quality jobs. That's right. Quality jobs we have to be looking to provide. And the cost of living. I want to talk a little bit about the cost of living, because the cost of living is the talk of the town. It's touching everybody in this constituency. When polls are done, over 50% of those people polled are saying that the cost of living is the biggest problem in Barbados. And I say to you tonight that there are two variables, income and expenditure. And any properly managed government, any properly managed corporation, any individual must over time balance income and expenditure. If you don't do that, the debt collector will be at your door. In the case of a company, the bank will sell you out, put you into liquidation. And in the case of a government, the IMF will set in and put pressure on you. And eventually that can lead to a loss in value of your currency. That's right.